So I kind of let stress control me years ago, and I started to kind of control the stress, and with that, you just change your lifestyle, eating well and changing into diet, getting moving. When I'm talking with people, I'm on the phone, it seems like 10 to 12 hours a day, and I might as well pace while I'm talking. So just getting up and moving and putting the right foods in my body, it has definitely changed everything for me. So can't complain.
Would you say it was like stress eating?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. You got the stress eating and just not knowing when to quit.
Sure.
And it's the food you put in your body too. Went
Sure.
from a lot of greasy foods to just in box foods to eating produce.
Yeah.
So got a big old garden out back. I got about I'd say quarter-acre garden we put in this year. So everything's all going to be all natural for us going forward. And so it's been good though. It's been a sigh of relief. My wife is much happier. The kids are much happier. Her dad, you got their dad back and can move a little bit more. Get out and do some more stuff. So yeah, I was creeping up on right at 300 pounds a year ago at last glass build. And here we are under 200 pounds now, 190 some pounds.
Yeah, I noticed it when you turn the camera on. Like, it's not, you see someone in person is different than you see someone on a Zoom call or this is Zencaster. But yeah, I noticed it right away. So yeah, just eating real food. You mentioned stuff in boxes. That's a big thing around my house, especially with my kids, right? They want the stuff in the pantry, right?
Oh yeah, well it's easy, it's convenience food, right? And so when we learn to take just take that extra step, it's like anything in life. Take that extra step and say, hey, I'm gonna cook something. You wouldn't believe it, but my favorite food is to dice up in and what do you call them? Avocados, and then they're called chia peas.
Yeah.
High in fiber and some oatmeal and then some onions, and I enjoy that, and an apple a day, like they say, keep the doctor away. So, but
the pantry food, the box food is also designed by scientists to trigger little weird things in our brain. Like the people at Oreo, they are paid to make that food trigger things in our brain and be as addicting as possible.
You nailed it.
Regardless of whatever they're putting in it.
And it comes down to this too. I think about the population growth, right? We're at over 8 billion people in the world right now, okay? And we have wars going on in Ukraine because of what? Farmland, right? We don't have enough farmland. We don't have enough to produce all this food for all these people. Back in the 1905 to be exact, there was 4 billion people roaming this planet. And we've over doubled that in 1,000 years? So, or I'm sorry, 100 years, so you start looking at that, John, and it's kind of like, holy cow, what are we doing? Do we have enough food? And so, yeah, all of these, food companies, they're figuring out a way that, hey, how do we process this food, right? How do we make this food that is, as cheap as possible without having to eat all that farmland, like the past. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of different theories on that, but I can get into that. But that's for a different conversation, probably. So.
Yeah, that's probably different. I think the manufacturers, the food companies are definitely motivated by what you said. I think there's alternative ways that people could get their food, but that's a massively larger conversation. Maybe not for today on the Glazier Nation podcast.
Yeah, that goes back to choice, and teaching people that, hey, they do have a choice, right? But they have to be willing to actually take that first step in that action. That's the thing that everybody knows they won't do. So we're going to keep processing those Oreos just like we do it.
Yeah. No, making the choice that is not the path of least resistance is challenging. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't do it, right? Like I could probably go find something made locally, right? But instead I buy it on Amazon because I get, 24-hour shipping, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, I just got back from a cruise in Alaska, and even their ports out there, if we're bringing food in, they'll order something from Amazon, and that's still their fastest way of getting stuff into their towns. Even Sitka here,
Yeah.
Guess what their lead time is to get something shipped from Amazon out to a standard product?
To Alaska?
Yeah, Sitka, Alaska right here.
Do they do 2-day shipping there?
No,
Okay.
they do 4-week shipping.
4-week shipping.
Yep, 4-week shipping, and that's considered fast up there, believe it or not.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting though. But yeah, that's why they live a whole different lifestyle. And they know they gotta, produce their own food, and that's why everybody has a garden. Because they have to,
Yeah.
They can't rely on the traditional Amazon to, or anybody else. So a convenience store keep it open all year. So
Yeah.
lifestyle. It's all a choice.
Agreed. Personal choice is a very challenging thing. That's with kids, like, with myself, I've noticed it and I've struggled with it and I've tried to make good choices. And anyone that's listened to multiple episodes of this podcast knows that I at least have an interest in health and fitness. But with the kids, it's even harder, right? Because they can't see, or they're unwilling to see the bigger picture, right? They see today and what video games they can play today and what snacks they can get today, and they don't quite understand the larger picture of that. But
I did something for my daughter who is very picky, and she's 6. Okay, her name's Adeline, and she likes butter noodles.
Yeah,
she likes white rice. So something of very little to no nutritional value, right?
Right.
And my wife's like, just give her time. And so I give her time. But what I did this last week is we watched a movie on Netflix. It's about your gut and controlling what you put in your gut. And it had a little, it was almost kind of trippy to watch it, but had a little fake people, the microorganisms, basically. They showed, basically what it is your microbiome, okay, is your gut. That's what
right.
Everything lives, all right? And then these microbes, I'm not saying the word right, but these microorganisms that live in your gut, they tell you hey, I want this food, I want this product, right? And so imagine your gut is being filled with thousands and thousands, millions of little it's a whole new brain almost telling you, hey, I want some sugar, or I would like this apple. So after losing all this weight, John, I'll tell you, like, soda and all the sugary stuff, I mean, it's almost repulsive, because you're fixing your stomach that way, and it's the whole lifestyle. So,
was that a big cut? Was that a big cut, soda? Were you a soda drinker?
I was a soda, but I enjoyed those Yinglings a little too much back in the day too. So.
Yeah, beer. Yeah, beer.
I like the beer. I got rid of that too. That was a big one to help out. So.
I think beer is a big contributor because it has a lot of things going against it, right? It has calories, it has gluten, it has alcohol, which I think just alcohol by itself can damage someone's weight loss or weight gain more than they think it does. But yeah, you add the gluten, you add the calories. Beer's a bad one. Soda's a real bad one. Hey, this is
all anymore. It's just easier too, and it's so easy to drink it and convenient. But when you're done with that, you gotta go run for a mile, to even try to get rid of those calories. So I'm not a calorie watcher. I just changed my lifestyle. That's as simple as that. So
yeah. No, that's like vegans or carnivores, whatever diet they choose, they argue that theirs is best. And what I do is I just say, hey, do you know what the common denominator is between what you're doing? Is you're just making a choice. You're making a healthy choice to eat real food, whether it's animal, whether it's plant. You're making a choice to eat something that you would find in the perimeter of the grocery store instead of the interior of the grocery store.
And like they say, you are who you are. You become what you eat, right?
You were about to say something about cannibalism right there, man.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Oh, shoot. I guess I didn't think about it that way, but hey, at the end of the day, you become what you eat, right?
Right.
The thing is, who you associate with is how the world perceives you. And so I'm kind of glad you're going into some of this too, because I mean, it's important to see who we associate with is how the world perceives us, So
all right, hold on. Who we associate with? Let's get back on track here, David. Your title with Glazier Nation is.
So I'm the active COO. I run the day-to-day operations. I'm also a board member. Out there, Glazier Nation and Glazers on Demand. So I've heard the stories about understanding what Glazier Nation is. Who is Glazers on Demand? How are all these companies associated? What is Glazier Nation International? John, can you hear me okay, Chris, from the recording?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Your sound's good. Hey, let me pause you there because, someone listening to this show probably at least has an idea of what Glazier Nation is, if not a pretty good idea. But let's say someone found this podcast randomly. Maybe they're in the construction industry, whatever they do, but they don't know what Glazier Nation is. What's kind of the 2-minute elevator pitch of what Glazier Nation is?
Really, Glazier Nation is just the people that follow us. This Glazier Nation team, we help businesses, for finding labor. We help businesses procure materials. We help businesses whatever they need. And the most important thing about what Glazier Nation is, we're helping ministries all around the world have set up self-sustaining ministries. So when I say that is we're a group of individuals that really believe in a higher power out there. We know that, you continue to support this industry and to see this industry grow, we need prayer warriors. So we've got churches, we got ministries out in Pakistan, we got ministries in the Philippines. We're actually getting ready to get on a flight to Puerto Rico today, fly down there for a 7-day mission trip. And so outlining, basically it's Glazier Nation is whatever you want it to be. And it's not just for the glass industry, John. It's we've got people like Legacy Minded Men, huge organizations following us because we're giving back in such a way that it actually impacts other people's lives. So a lot of people don't know that about us. They think it's, hey, they got Glazers, they got this Hall of Fame thing, not really sure what they all do, but we're just a lot more when you dig into the weeds of understanding who we are and what we do, because, we're gonna make our brand. Our brand is what people want it to be, and and that's why we have social media on Facebook, all these followers on LinkedIn. We let the people talk how they want to talk. But at the end of the day, we're very simple. We're gonna provide you with labor if you need labor. We're gonna help you with your funding. We're gonna help you with your insurance. My favorite part, though, John, is when business owners call me and they just want a sigh of fresh relief, saying, "Hey, what's out there? What are other people doing different that I'm not doing? Right? Why am I losing these jobs and my margins aren't there?" Well, we give you different ways to think outside the box. That's what it all comes down to, right? If we're not evolving, if we're not growing as a company or as an industry, we're ultimately dying. And so these fresh perspectives is what we bring to the table, and that's why I believe it that much, John. I mean, just how, let me ask you this: that when there a recession coming up, okay, we're in a minor recession as it is. Looking at this is how do you prepare yourself for something like a 2008, 2009, and set up your company for that. I've got companies that call in every day trying to understand what are people doing, and it could come down to, hey, how do I control my overhead? Well, you look at that, construction fluctuates in the schedule, especially summer schoolwork, right? So right now, everybody's calling in, they have a school to hit, their schedule on, or there's liquidated damages for a job that ends in August 1st when school starts. So everybody's calling, trying to figure out how do I get, enough Glazers out there. And so some folks, they think the appropriate action is to hire on months before as W-2 employees and see where it goes, Some folks, they're thinking outside the box, saying, hey, I don't need all this overhead and it's all burden on my company. Let's hire, independent subcontractors. So we give people all these different options. But where I found the absolute favorite is where we're positioning ourselves right now, John, okay? So this last year, Glazier Nation basically went in there and said, you know what? We've been blessed. I'm not going to lie, right? The good Lord watches over us. We've got these prayer warriors watch over our whole organization. Labor, does well for us. It's our niche. That's what we succeeded. So, but what we did is we found a way, John, to give back all of the same how we make our money, right? And how we run our business. I'm giving that to the glass companies now. I can turn a glass company into a staffing company, a vendor. And so hang with me with that is we basically went out there and said, Glazers on Demand has Glazers on demand, right? When you go there, we'll give you Glazers on demand. We've got general labor on demand, right? So these on demands are what we give back to the community, right? So if you go on there, you can go shopping for Glazers or general labor, but now we're allowing glass companies to do the same thing. So when I'm saying that is you could be a ABC glass shop or a vendor in the industry, and say you want to hire some guys 10 guys to see how they work out. but you don't want to let them go. You're putting all the training and all the education in these folks, but the telltale sign is, December's coming around, you're getting slow. What do? You lay these guys off, right? Or do you try to hold on to them, right? When your company is going to hurt your company.
All right.
So what we do is we allow these folks to actually showcase as a staffing company back to the industry, to where we can now market their manpower to other glass shops that are in need of this labor. And so when they're done with them, they simply come on back. So there's a lot of their fun things we're doing, I guess, John, from the labor perspective. There's fun things we're doing from, I guess, let me ask you this. Did any of that make sense to you? Or do I need to completely say that again?
No, I want to break it down a little bit more simply, though, right? Glazier Nation's doing a lot of different things, right? As far as doing mission work in Puerto Rico that you're leaving for today, right?
Yeah.
But like, simply put, if we had to break it down to the very base levels, Glazier Nation, Glazers on Demand, the way it makes profit is through temporary glazer and labor solutions. Is that
correct? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're basically your staffing company whether you need minority points or whatever it is, we provide you the labor when you need it.
Right. But there's more too. There's financing, there's levels of material, you guys provide some material on certain projects.
If we're on your job, sometimes we can help you fund stuff or materials or whatever it may be. So anything you could think of as a need, odds are we probably have it, a solution for you.
And having known Matt for long enough, I know that there's more coming. There's always stuff in the works. There's always different things going on. I mean, this podcast is evidence of that. The Hall of Fame, Glazier Nation International, we haven't even touched on that. But I kind of what I was looking for in there was like, if somebody had to answer what Glazier Nation was to a friend, as briefly as possible, the way you guys make your money, there's that, but then there's a lot more. And then this kind of branch or giving back where we're helping glass companies with their labor while they're slow, that's something new.
Yeah. No, it is something new. So what it is, Glazier Nation, we start over here. Glazier Nation is the people, John, in the glass industry that basically support the same cause, right? We're all here together. We're all
right.
I want Glazier Nation is trying to unify, equip, and prepare the industry. Okay, those are the three main things that we focus on. And so when we work together as an industry, there's great organizations out there all over the place, that try to unify this industry. But when we truly come back and say, hey, all right, you know what? Let's share our labor. Our most valuable resource is labor.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't have all the contracts. ABC Glass, there's going to be these boys in everyone's work schedule. So when we work together and put our most valuable resources in the same pot, and that's what we're trying to do at Glazier Nation, is we help solve a lot of problems.
Wouldn't the glass shop be concerned that those guys would not come back?
I mean, it's like anything else in life. If you're concerned that those guys are going to come back, you probably need to look at how you're running your day-to-day operations and why they want to leave you in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that as well. Okay. I think we've broken it down to like a simple answer, but I think that it's very evident, and I know that there's a lot more going on than just renting glazers and renting laborers. There's a ton more, and there's more of a holistic approach to it than that base level as well, right? Like that's kind of what would separate you from someone that was just doing that.
Yeah, so let me throw this out there. Yeah, so we've been around doing that same thing. You'll do Glazers on Demand. There's a lot of labor subs out there. Okay.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Okay. We want you to know we have those solutions, but we do try to go above and beyond. And the biggest the reason for that is we have something that we're going to be showcasing to the whole industry very soon. It's called WorkNav. And WorkNav is kind of like our Panem, where we can show the glazers profiles to everybody. You see what you're getting. You can ask the questions before, the vetting questions before you hire these guys. Know who you hire before they show up at your job. Right?
Sure.
Because who gets sent out to your job represents you as a company.
And we had Gustavo. We had Gustavo 4 episodes ago, so that would have been. I think it was Glazier Nation 33. We had him, and he was explaining a bit more of that in detail. So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, check that out.
Oh yeah, I love what they're doing. Gustavo and the group, because our clients, they know exactly who they're getting before these guys show up, and it is important. I mean, it really is. But John, my favorite thing to do at Glazier Nation, okay, and this is what I like to be known for. This is what people do know me for out there, is when it comes to bid time. Okay, you're bidding a job, and you're wanting to outsource your reach. You may have been doing work in the same city or state your whole life, but you want the opportunity to grow and expand, right? So what we do is I work with people at bid time to say, all right, hey, in Omaha, Nebraska, here's where we're gonna have your rates locked in at, when you do land this project.
Yeah,
and that whole communication process is what really distinguishes what we try to do and go above and beyond, John, because when we help solidify the bid hours along with, the bid rates for these folks, they know we're also holding ourselves to the fire. We're saying, hey, our guys in the field, a lot of these things are historical averages, like how many DLOs can you put in of glass for storefront and, in an hour, right? Or a day. How many lineal feet should your caulker be able to caulk? All these things they're not questions. They're just it's historical data we have that backs us up, and we hold our guys accountable, right? And that's the biggest difference. But we found ourselves on a lot of large jobs, John, that is really where we call ourselves labor logistics masters. And I am going to say that because the way we were able to move around labor to really key in on that individual's pure talent, whether it's caulking, whether it's storefront, whether it's unitized. That's the key difference maker right there. When you hone in on the individual's exact talent and let them excel in that, and that's what we do. And so the way we move guys around, we found is very effective. And we've got jobs in the Midwest that are 10,000 hour jobs to 100,000 hour projects.
Yeah,
and these jobs they track under on labor hours because we're putting the people are having fun doing their jobs, right? We're finding the right skill set. We're not just throwing them out there in a house and saying, good luck, go get it done, right? It's how you treat your people that are pushing the broom all as your foreman is really what makes the difference.
David, what's the biggest challenge you've ever faced with Glazier Nation, and how'd you overcome it?
The biggest challenge really is just the politics in the industry. And I hate to say that, but there's so many different politics. There's so many different people that have a negative perception of change, right? And it's really that negative perception of change that people don't like to change. We've talked about this before. And a lot of business owners, they don't like the idea that, hey, I'm being forced to change because the market is fluctuating, right? The margins are getting smaller, whatever it may be. We are forced to evolve and change. That's what we've been doing as a world for forever. So the biggest challenge is really just letting people showing people that there's solutions out there that can help them, but they have to be willing to take the next step, right? And that next step may be very simple as just picking up the phone and learning what we do. And I gave you a terrible, recap of what Glazier Nation does. We just do so much, I feel, John, whether it's the Hall of Fame, giving back to ministry work, whether it's allowing companies to become a staffing company, to have a whole new vertical to make money, whether it's, subbing out their work, whether it's locking down these contractors to make sure they're not liable at the end of the job. I mean, there's so many different things we do that really help and give back.
How about a specific example of politics, and whether it's someone didn't want to accept change or didn't want to change, no need to name names, locations, jobs, but a specific example of that challenge that you faced?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is education needs to be free. Okay. You see behind my wall there, I've got pictures from my grandpa. He used to collect pictures all over the world. I kid you not. of Jesus. So he had a museum down in Portland, Indiana, used to be an ostrich layer farm where we had all of our ostrich in. And so we converted that into basically just a Jesus museum. But it's a matter of giving back, right?
Did you say ostrich?
Ostrich eggs, yeah. Yep, ostrich. The big birds that run around.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We used to farm 1,000 ostrich. It used to be a high premium meat.
Yeah. Okay.
And then everybody got into ostrich farming and emu farming. And then what does it do? This, supply and demand. It kind of went back down. The meat prices did. So once the meat prices fell, we decided to convert my grandpa converted the ostrich farm into actually a museum for God. So pretty cool. Going back to where you were asking, what was the exact question? It's about politics, and
I'm looking for a story. I'm looking for a specific example of a challenge that you faced with Glazier Nation.
Documentation. Let's put it that way. The biggest challenge in the industry, I think, is just he with the most paperwork always wins. Okay, so. And in order to really document any process or procedure, it's paperwork, right? Back in the day, we could shake each other's hands and say, all right, deal, and it's solidified. Go put this building in for me, right? And you would get your check within 30 days. Now our biggest challenge is you're seeing people want to fund a lot longer, meaning that when people are asking to fund a lot longer, the owners means they're having a hard time getting paid. The GCs are having a hard time getting paid.
Yeah,
that's our number one, I think, worry right now, and we're watching a lot of businesses struggle with that. But as far as a day-to-day challenge, it's just really just people. People don't know what options are really out there. It's just really how do we showcase them in the right light? And I know I said that a couple of times, but it's showing the people that they have a choice. Kind of like I always laugh at. I love the FAC branding. Okay, you now have a choice, right? And people like that idea. They like just knowing that it's about them, right?
Yeah,
it's about them, and they can choose. It's like when you go to Walmart. There's 5 different brands of cereal, but they're all the same thing, right? Sitting right in front of you. It's just who makes it look prettier, right? Who made that box look pretty on the outside? So, and as a consumer, you get to choose who you get to pick, right? So that's that's what we're trying to really show is like, hey, everybody out there, I know you've been stuck doing the same way of business for years, right? I know you've been, union, non-union, whatever in this area. I know you've been, procuring your material through this vendor a long time, but thinking outside the box, knowing that there's other things out there, that's their biggest challenge really is reaching those people. And going back to what you were saying on this question is because a lot of politics suppress these messages, for people. They don't want it to be heard. There's a certain way that the industry wants us to work, right? That it's just like government. I hate to say that, but when you peel back this onion of the glass industry, and it's really no better than our government at times, and what policy.
Hey, let's peel that back a little bit for the glass industry, because what politics are directing glass companies how to operate? Like what's an example of that?
Well, I hate it. I'm not going to name drop. I love the union, but even the union has a lot of political pull on a lot of glass companies. They tell them what they can and can't do. You've got vendors out there that basically will give you multipliers to say you're going to use me, do this much volume through me, or nobody, or I'm going to pull back your multipliers. I mean, there's so many different. We look at them as sales tactics. I think them as negative politics that are really suppressing our industry. Because for someone that's a small mom and pop shop, me, having come from a family glass run business in Fort Wayne, Indiana, I've seen it firsthand. Who we could use and who we can't use. What are the rules of our labor force? What are the rules? Where can we go and where can't we go? Those are all just little things that they're handcuffs. And it came from some form of a political leader making a decision at one time what was best for them. And it's not ultimately best for what's best for the whole industry. And so I know I kind of gave you a roundabout answer to that question.
There's some things. There's some things in building code that I'm thinking of now that kind of, there's a lot of great things in building code, right? But there's a few things in there that I, always raise my eyebrow, or they're a little confusing, especially here in Florida, or especially with schools. But maybe you kind of started delving into the answer, but I wanted to get your thoughts. What's the missing puzzle piece in the glass industry? What does the glass industry need, and where does it come from?
I think they need a spokesman. I mean, I really do. I think they need someone out there that's going to support the glass industry, the small mom and pop service shop, all the way to the guys building the high rises out there. They need something that's really, and that's why we came up with Glazier Nation International, John. I mean, it's a free place to put your store, and it's really the only purpose of it is it's not for profit company. It's just a free place for people to showcase what they do. And at the end of the day, it's I scratch your back, you scratch my back mentality. So the key thing is remember I was kind of preaching on unity and unifying the industry, right? When we use all of our resources and get the most out of them, we're going to be successful. And so when we put all of our end vendors and all of these glass companies all in the same kind of, let's put them Glazier Nation. We'll call them all Glazier Nation. That's what we all are. We're a nation of glazers here, right? Some like the brand, some see it as a brand, some see it as a business. But then when you think of Glazier Nation, it's a brand. Glazier Nation International is just a simple place for all and everybody to go to showcase their brand. Right?
So let's separate that into two things, and then maybe it comes back to one. But the missing puzzle piece, the spokesperson, is that Glazier Nation International? Is Glazier Nation International the spokesperson, the missing puzzle piece?
No, the missing, no, it'll never be us. It'll never be us. It's going to be the people. So the people have to choose, okay, the number one, that they want it. I know there's a lot of organizations out there that do a lot for the community, that even go to DC for us, right, and represent us. Those are all great associations, but at the end of the day, we want the missing piece is education, and we all are on it, okay? So when we can educate the general public, when we can educate the GCs on what we do, the architects, you name it, we win. But we can't do that when we're all sending subliminal messages and mixed messages to everybody, right, from competitor to competitor. Let's all have that same message, right? ABC glass to XYZ glass, right? We're all in this together. Let's build more big glass buildings, right? And so when we can show that, hey, ultimately we can get our prices down there with the masons, right? We can get our prices down there with the vinyl windows. It's a matter of how do we combine all of our resources, right? All of our glazers in one pool, right? How do we put all of our material and start sourcing this as an industry, right? You're just gonna see a lot of good things change. I can't tell you all the things that I got going on.
But David, that's Glazier Nation International. That's everybody.
Yeah, Glazier Nation International is what we're going to be. Basically, it's a 24 hours trade show, John, that we're allowing everybody brand themselves, okay? And Glazier Nation. So it's a place where GCs can go to see all the glass companies that are in the area. It's a place for architects to go to see all the glass shops in the area. It's a place for glass companies to go to see glazers looking to get a job. And so at the end of the day, it's just a place to showcase your skill sets, and what we're doing is going back to I scratch your back, you scratch my back. We found a very unique marketing approach that a lot of vendors do like in the industry is hey, put Glazier Nation on your website, right? And we're going to showcase your store and our store. And when I say store, it's like an Amazon, an e-commerce feel.
Yeah.
That anybody can go look up your services for free in Glazier Nation International. It don't cost a thing. We simply plug you into our website and we showcase your product or your service. It don't matter if you compete with us. I welcome competition. So I know you know this in the past that, we had some of our labor, subs that, are our competition in the past. I would invite them in and say, hey, let's all work together, because at the end of the day, I want everybody in one centralized location, not to control it, but to give the consumer a choice, right? And so when they can see our guys next to someone else's guys, it's bringing back American policies, right? It's who's the best, right? Let's pick the best, right?
What's the benefit? And I know that it's probably a little bit bigger than I'm going to phrase this, right? But what's the benefit of Glazier Nation showing a glass company their glazers and a competitor's glazers? Why would you want to do that?
Well, at the end of the day, I want whoever is looking for that glazer to have the best glazer, ultimately. So if my guy is not as good as the other competitors, I would hope he would pick XYZ, my competitor, right? For the glazer. God, I don't need that. I want healthy competition. That right there only makes me better.
But for your competitor to use your platform to place their glazers, I'm sure there's a cost associated with that, right?
We charge $10 a month per profile to showcase your own glazers. Dirt cheap. Yeah, so we got so when you come to Glazier Nation.
So David, what's the catch? There's a catch. What's the catch?
There's not a catch on this one. There really is, because we've got a lot of people rooting for us, John, and the catch is this. I want everybody in the glass industry, okay, unified and working together.
All right. Is that a reality? What does the future of the glass industry look like?
Here's the thing. It's a definite reality. I've watched God move mountains, through this company. I watched a lot of crazy things happen where I thought we were going to go, not have enough to make it through the, 2 years ago. Like, oh my gosh, are we going to make it? We were investing so much money into the Arcanum days. And by the way, that's coming back around. But it's all up. It can definitely happen. And what's going to happen is it takes an upset in the industry, which we're just starting to see. We're on the very verge of a lot of people and a lot of businesses I can't name names, but there's a lot of businesses that are hurting right now. And so remember, I started this whole segment here. We're talking about is you have a choice and you have to be willing to take action to change, right? You have to be willing to look outside the box, right? As a business owner and say, hey, let's evolve. Let's look at new strategies, right? To really try to recession-proof my company, or for whatever reason you want to tell yourself you're going to go about this change, right? But when you make a decision to say, hey, I am going to change, right? And you start working together, because we have a lot of big glass shops that they know it now, that are realizing that we're all using the same labor at the end of the day. It's just a matter of one project is done and the next project is over. Why don't, instead of trying to train up new labor, let's all use the same labor pool, right? And benefit from it. So when people start and they put their guard down, not put their guard down, but they have to learn to trust, I guess. Maybe that's the biggest hurdle of the industry.
So yeah, okay. So let's assume that whether it's a changing of the guard or a collective shift in how we view our companies, let's say, and I'd be a little hard pressed to see a world where this is 100% participation, but let's say a majority participation in this kind of collective, I'll call it, right?
Yep.
What then does the future of the glazing industry look like? How do people continue to compete while sharing? What's the future of the glazing industry?
I love that, because here's what most folks don't realize what we're doing, and what I said on all of this is I'm giving every glass shop the ability to make money just like Glazers on Demand makes money. A whole new vertical, So every glass shop primarily sells two different things. We have materials that we sell, and we've got labor services, right? On a lump sum job, whether we're going in there to do a service work for a door, or whether we're going building a new hospital or school, right? At the end of the day, we have labor services we sell. So now, while a small mom and pop shop has got slow between, let's say, January and March. What do they do with those guys, John? They had nowhere to go with them other than lay them off. That's going to hurt them when their workload spikes in the summer or the school work and they need those glazers back. So what we've came up with is saying, let's share the love, okay? Instead of glazers on demand, holding on to this whole school of glazers and selling them back to these shops, is we're saying, no, hey, glass shop, you can go ahead for $10 a month, okay? Put a profile of your guys, your glazers on our site, okay? And just let us know when you want us to work them. They can mark them up, whatever they want to mark them up. If you want to mark them up $5 an hour, $20 an hour, I don't care. You can mark up these profiles. And so just like an agent, okay, for a football player, an NFL player, or a soccer player, whatever you're into, they manage the accounts of these athletes, right? These agents do. Businesses are no different for our employees. And that's how we look at them. We're simply their agents. So now we have these sales and labor agent contracts at Glazier Nation. We completely give back the power, okay, back to the people. And that, John, is why I think it's going to work. And I think this will be a whole new segment down the road and about exactly how these sales agents and labor agent contracts work. Because now your standard glass shop, while they're slow, they no longer had to let go of their 10 or 15 employees, right? They're simply showcasing them, turning the button on our Glazier Nation, saying, hey, these 15 guys are available to work. They market the rate, $5, $10 an hour, and they get keep these guys busy. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, for us at least, And so I'm trying, and when people realize that, hey, Glazier Nation's giving the power back to these glass companies, right? We're letting them have a whole new vertical. And when I say vertical, a way to monetize,
sure,
that they've never been able to see before. So,
well, I think it's important there to note that it's a way for the glass shop to monetize, but it's also a way to keep their people working.
100%. And that's what it's all about, because to train that guy, you may have 6 months in really understanding and training somebody, right, on your processes. And how to let them go because you can't sustain that workload, it makes anybody, hurt in the gut, right? And so it's just a way of giving back. And that's why I really believe, John, once people do see that and they understand that, hey, wow, you're telling me I can make money while using Glazier Nation and it costs me $10 a month to advertise my guys when they're slow, it's a no-brainer. And you're going to see a lot of people jumping on board, and as we already have. So
I think, and you've probably dealt with this. You're probably well aware of this. This is probably preaching to the choir here, but I'm sure a lot of people have hesitancy with that for what we talked about earlier, of concern that their people won't come back. But to your other points about people being more open-minded, people being more open to change, I think the more new school glass shop kind of sees it as how you're describing it. And if they're concerned about keeping their guys, you're right. You got to kind of look at what you're doing. And if your guy's going to go work somewhere for a month and a half and he's out, you're probably not doing something right.
Yeah. And if you're more concerned with if you laid this guy out for a month and you are concerned about his piggy bank, right?
Yeah.
For me, and that at that point, and I wouldn't want to be employed by you.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's really about giving back. And once people realize that the only reason they're making money is because the people out in that shop pushing the broom, right, and the guys out in the field working in the heat, putting that storefront, we need the guy from our maintenance janitor all the way to our top foreman excelling and really believing in what our company does. And when I say our company, your company.
So, David, it's abundantly clear that you've got octopus arms in Glazier Nation, that you're doing 8 things at once.
Yeah.
You already said you're on the phone for 10 to 12 hours a day. You're now in weight loss mode. I'm sure you've made some tracks pacing holes into the ground.
Oh, yes.
But where I'm going with this is you're doing a lot, and I got maybe a fun one for you, is if you had one superpower, if you could pick one superpower to help you accomplish your day-to-days, what would it be?
Wisdom. I believe that, the good Lord, it had a book called the Bible. more I indulge myself in that book and really understanding that and just pray for wisdom to help others and to keep my selfish motives away. That's the superpower I dream of every day. And I strive to be that guy, right? Because I like to help people. And it's merely how do I help people in this industry, make the best of themselves and grow. And that's a superpower that I love to help. I mean, I help small mom and pop glass shops, get the biggest jobs I've ever seen. That just because I'm able to relate with these folks and I talk to them, right? And I pray for more wisdom, I guess, John, and everything we do, because I want to see a better, stronger industry at the end of the day. But I don't know, just call me a superpower. I wouldn't say I have a superpower. I'm a normal guy just like you or anybody else in this industry.
No. I'm not saying you have a superpower. I'm asking you what superpower you'd want, and we've got the answer. We've got the answer as I don't think we can just take wisdom. We've got to take superhuman wisdom.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a wisdom not of this earth. Yeah.
Wisdom not of this earth. Intergalactical wisdom is what we're going to go with.
And it's just God's word is when we can humble ourselves and take our own pride out of the equation. Whether you're a business owner, whether you're someone trying to grow in the industry, and you put others first, you will always win. And that right there is a superpower that I strive to have, and I want more of. So
another fun one for you. I've met most of the good folks over there at Glazier Nation. We've done podcasts with several of them. I assume there's a portion of our listeners who went to the Glazier Nation Hall of Fame ceremony last year. So people are familiar with the good folks at Glazier Nation. If you, David, could switch your job with one person in the company for one day, who would it be and why?
Oh, boy. I would switch my job. Honestly, I think it would be, I'd like to market it a little bit, maybe. Just kind of try to reach an audience that's been lost or confused about what we do. And maybe that's where I would try to push it, The Glazier Nation, like you said, it's an octopus. It has, this arm's doing this, the right arm, left arm's doing this. We're all over the place, right? There's reasons we're all over the place because we have a lot of different needs, right, in the industry. A lot of people reach out. We don't just make up these wants and these needs. These are real needs of people and businesses. So we try to fix them. But really, it'd be kind of narrowing in our marketing pitch to really showing these glass shops that, hey, I've been there. I was one of them, for 12 years of my life. I live the day-to-day operations. My dad still runs the day-to-day operations in a glass shop. And I want them to know that there is a way for them to make more money. There's a way for them to recession-proof their company. And at the end of the day, when you do things for the least of, God's people, you will be blessed. And I want Glazier Nation to know, if you didn't catch anything in this whole, podcast series, that we have a army of churches praying for every one of you every day. So your money and support that we do get in our labor needs, 90% of it goes right back into the churches and our ministry work. And that brings a lot of good things. I truly believe that back to everyone, because in this industry. And so just know that you're being prayed for, every one of you, John, you yourself too. And so just, we're here to be honest people, tell the truth about what we do. And I'm sure we could really spend a lot more time on the politics. I didn't want to answer any of your questions direct without saying names. But there's a lot of policies and a lot of political walls I want to break down and that need to be torn down in this industry. And I think it's going to take some time to get there. But it's going to be everybody speaking up with one voice and saying, hey, I am ready for this change, right? I'm ready to see change because it's needed, right? And so, that's what I'm ready to see, John. And I really appreciate you bringing me on here today for this podcast. And I don't know if everything quite went the way you were expecting, but
You did great, David. And I know you got to go catch a flight, so I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
And we'll talk soon, all right?
Sounds great, John. Well, I appreciate you, and thanks for all the hard work out there. If there's anything we can ever do, just holler. So,
all right, man. You have a good one.
Yeah.